I've been reflecting on different ways that we can develop ourselves spiritually. And one thing that's becoming more and more clear to me is the importance of letting go of addictions and substance use in general. I believe that a lot of people who, hit the proverbial rock bottom, they'll go to 12-step programs, and one thing that is highly associated with these gatherings is coffee and cigarettes. And I think that it's understandable when you're transitioning out of like alcohol or some kind of cocaine use or something that you're going to want something else to suppress the emotions, because I think that's what it's about. But I do believe we have to let go of everything at some point and just return to a natural state of being, because the connection I see between substance use and spirituality is that I believe that any kind of substance use, including the legal ones, nicotine and caffeine, suppress emotions. Now, caffeine has an easy go of it right now, and soda companies and coffee companies are not going to complain. But I would suggest going decaf, because it's even a lot of times when people have addictions, they use humor to make themselves feel better with other like-minded addicts and so forth. And so with coffee, there's jokes about "don't talk to me till I had my second cup," and these kinds of things like that. But it's really not necessary to have anything outside of yourself to feel good. And if you don't feel naturally alive when you wake up and naturally positive, then maybe you need to change your life. And that's what the key is. That's what the connection is. If you're suppressing yourself with various forms of chemical use and so forth, then you're not going to be motivated to change. You just keep on using the things that help you cope and get through it. But you don't want life to just be about coping and getting through it. You really want life to be a pleasant experience. And so you might think, well, I drink coffee, but I'm not addicted to it. But how do you know that if you have to keep doing it? You could just drink decaf and get the flavor, if you like the flavor of that. But I think people, kind of like with beer, a lot of people don't naturally like the taste of beer when they try it, but they develop a positive association because it diminishes their pain. And I think we have to, in our culture, look at substance use, not in terms of criminal kind of activity, but as a way of just dealing with suffering, because that's ultimately what it is. If it's crystal meth or heroin or whatever you're using, it's really about trying to cope with the incredible amount of pain that you're feeling. But we can transcend that pain and not just block it or escape from it or cover it up, but it takes feeling it, and that takes courage. You have to be courageous enough to let yourself feel you're hurt. Most people are hurt. They've experienced different things in their life that have created various feelings of trauma and other kinds of woundedness, and they're just covering it up and performing and carrying on as if everything's okay, when inside there's a lot of suffering. And in order to get over that, it takes grief. And to grieve fully, to feel the sadness, to feel the anger, you can't block yourself with different emotions. So, you could be drinking 4 caffeinated Coca-Colas a day or whatever like that and think, oh, I'm just an American who enjoys Coke. But, it's still, it's a suppression kind of activity, and anything that suppresses you keeps you further from your true self. And when it comes to workaholism or eating, you can undereat, you can overeat. These are ways of using something that can be healthy for you in a way that suppresses emotions, or undereating a lot of times can be tied in with kind of a cultural value of being super thin to be loved and that kind of thing. And of course, work can be used to escape your feelings and to feel like you're being purposive and you have, a sense of identity, but you're not really dealing with your emotions as well. I think that the way using a non-addictive way of being as a spiritual path can manifest is look at your life in terms of what do you feel needy about in beyond just the basics of fundamental nourishment, getting enough nourishment, food to feel healthy, and shelter. What do you feel needy of beyond that? Because you can take anything that feels good and turn it into an addictive kind of behavior. Even with shelter, I already mentioned food, but with shelter you can turn it into a kind of fixation that you need to have the nicer home and have it really nicely furnished, and then you'll feel better when you're like in a really grandiose kind of pristine situation. But that's just, again, it's outside of yourself. So looking at everything that is beyond just basic food and shelter, what do you feel needy towards? And can you be courageous enough to start stripping away those things that you feel addicted to in terms of a neediness? And a common one is relationships. There's this concept that Carl Jung talked about called the herd mystique, in which being a member of a herd or a tribe can be really hard to transcend. He talks about this idea that the way I look at it is that we're biologically programmed because of where we come from on a genetic level to have a greater sense of safety and security if we're part of a tribe. But a lot of times being on the spiritual path means breaking away from the tribe and thinking for yourself and doing things that the herd doesn't want to do because they're set in their ways. And so letting go of being a part of the social interactions that you may be used to can be also a deeper part of finding yourself as an individual and connecting with your higher self, connecting with your true spiritual essence. And there is a lot of distractions available to people through Facebook and Twitter and the internet use in general. Just a feeling of constant interconnectedness with other people can be a way of avoiding yourself and avoiding your feelings. So shutting it all off can be a step towards greater harmony and peace. Turning off your phone, turning off the internet connection, and just being with yourself and figuring out how do you enjoy yourself. Because if there's a gnawing sense of discomfort that's with you when you're just with yourself, that discomfort could actually be your friend, in the sense that something's coming up that's been suppressed in your unconscious, some kind of hurt, something to do with your identity, something to do with unfinished business that needs to come up. And it's okay. You can handle it. I truly believe that we're not given anything in this life that we can't handle. But if we're going to take a deeper path and make peace our goal, as opposed to fitting into our cultural values or society's kind of goals or whatever, if we want something deeper, I think this is a way of working with it, is looking at all those things that feel need related, including close relationships, because you can't really enjoy something that you feel is necessary to your identity, and that includes relationships. Anybody in your life can be an enhancement, but will not be an enhancement if they are a source of identity and someone that you need. That's codependence. It's another form of addiction. So letting go step by step and trusting and having faith. I've witnessed this myself. I've utilized probably 95% of the various forms of addiction that I've mentioned. Pretty much everything but heroin and crystal meth. have been something that I've utilized, and although I don't tend to have an addictive personality, I do think that relationships in particular are something that I'm learning to just enjoy without needing. And so I think that I have found deeper peace, and I wanted to pass along these ideas to you in case they're helpful, because I think it's something real tangible that you can work with, and you can look at your life in terms of what are all the things that you can strip away and get to yourself. And then you really will find relationships with other people more enjoyable, and life will be more enjoyable, and you'll feel a greater connection to your higher self when you're not blocking it with various distractions. Thanks for listening.